Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Totem Pole Sports. You are in for a huge treat today. We're joined here live with David Alexander, the Eagle. The Eagle has landed. We have landed the Eagle. He played for the Philadelphia Eagles from 1987 until 1994, and then he spent his last years with the New York Jets, where he retired. Tulsa Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Are you coaching right now, Coach?
I am. I've been coaching high school football since 2004 here in Oklahoma. I'm at a place, a suburb of Tulsa. I just live just southeast of Tulsa. And I'm in a suburb called Sapulpa. Helping a buddy of mine out, who's the head coach there.
Awesome. Do you help out with the linemen or motivation? I mean, I'm sure you could pretty much pick your poison there.
Yeah, I could. Just like you, I'm getting toward the end of my high school coaching career. So I'm going to go help my friend over there at Sapulpa. I'm doing the offensive line and then drawing up his run game for him. And we got a bunch of great kids. We're having a lot of fun.
That's super exciting stuff. This is a huge week for you. It's got to be, Super Bowl Sunday here. Tell us a little bit about, being pretty much a lifer for the Eagles,
Right.
coming, Hall of Famer out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then going all the way to the East Coast, man. That had to be a big change.
Man, talking about culture change, right? I was a small kid from a small town. Went to Tulsa, which was, we were a good football team, but we weren't a big, huge program. Get drafted, in 1987 by Buddy Ryan and the Philadelphia Eagles. So the first time I was ever across the east side of Mississippi was the day after the draft. They sent me an airplane ticket, and there I am. I land in Philadelphia, and just complete culture shock. And
wow,
you're just lucky. Right, you're going into a team and an organization where you automatically have peers, you automatically have friends.
Without a doubt, Coach.
Walking around the city of Philadelphia, I was in shock.
Oh, I heard you made a good friend right from the get. Kenny Clark, tell us about that first practice if you could, Coach.
Hey, how'd you hear about that?
Yeah. Hey, man, rumor has it.
That's awesome. Man, that's a great story. Yeah, Kenny Clark was a big-time veteran, defensive lineman. He was there in the 1980 Super Bowl year. He was a young guy then, right? And it's 1987. The strength coach at Philadelphia, a guy named Ronnie Jones, took a liking to me right off the bat. We had a run-in Oklahoma in the past, and he said, hey, he pulled me aside. He said, when you get in there, you need to get in a fight. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you need to get in the fight. I said, okay. So, man, that's pretty easy to do, right? Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Pass is a pass play, ball's thrown. Right? I just grabbed Kenny, just a little late after the whistle, give him a shove. He turns around, and the old man strength, 8 or 10 year vet that he was, he hit and tossed me, threw me on the ground. And I was lucky that the rest of my offensive line buddies jumped in there. He might have beat the dog out of me.
Man, I tell you guys were loaded on both sides of the ball. I was a huge Keith Byers fan. Keith Jackson. You guys had Randall. Man, so many good linemen as well. And, that defense was so loaded, man. Andre, Dirty Waters, Eric Allen, Seth Joyner, Reggie, Mike Golick, Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons. Man, that is a loaded roster. And, I like how also I'd heard that, before you go into battle with those guys in practice, Coach had you do quite a few up downs, right?
Hey, Coach, you coached Buddy Ryan, right? He was ex-military. And he believed that you did your calisthenics before practice got even started. And if you or I held a practice like that today, the Booster Club parents would be out there before practice was over. Yeah, but we would do, Buddy Ryan called them up downs. We did 50 up downs at the beginning of every practice but they were really Army squat thrusts, on a count, put your hand on the ground, kick your feet back, kick your feet back up and stand up. My gosh. And we would do 50 of those. And the offensive line coach would say, hey, get a squirt of water. And then we jog down the other end of the field to go inside run against Reggie and Jerome and Clyde and Golick and Mike Pitts. And
let's go start a fist fight after.
That's right. Let's go get in the fight.
Now that we can barely breathe and our legs are shot.
That's the way it was, man.
Yeah. Now, I was watching some of your stuff, and you were saying that you played with just the fear of. In the movie Invincible, I thought it was a really good movie because it showed the old school uniforms, and they had that deal with the pink slips there. Right. Was that pretty legit? Was that what it was? And you were kind of worried about that?
Of course. I was a 5th round pick. I was the 121st pick in the draft. I was a big guy, or I thought I was a big guy when I was at the University of Tulsa. But I was on the smallest side. And so I played every day, practiced every day, like they were trying to come take my job. And I spent, the first 5 years of my career, honestly, walking in the locker room. You had to walk around this little wing wall, and you could see my locker as soon as you come around it, just make sure my name was still up there above it. I love what I was doing. And I played with that chip on my shoulder. Those first 5 years, I was trying to decide, am I good enough? And I had to practice that way. And then after my 5th year, I've been playing a while. Then I kind of relaxed a little bit. I said, hey, we're good. I'm a good player. I can make it in this league a little bit longer. But yeah, for the first 5 years, I was scared to death every day.
Hey, Coach, I'm sorry to cut you off. I got my best friend, and this was my high school teammate, and the relationship I feel like I have with you, Coach, is the same one I had with him. He was my center in high school, and you just missed a great story, Troy. His first game, his first practice, his strength and conditioning coach told him to go start a fight, and he picked a fight with a 12-year veteran. And what happened? Let me ask you this. What was said at the end? Coach was going to make you guys run at the end of that practice, but what did he say after that?
All right, so Buddy Ryan, all he said was he pulled us up at the end of practice, said, "Hey, we're going to run, but because the rookie from I went to a town called Broken Arrow, is where I'm from. He said
Broken Arrow.
Well, we were going to run because the kid from Broken Stick showed some toughness. We're going to all take it to the house."
So he rewarded you for a fight.
He rewarded me for a fight. Oh, Buddy loved it. Buddy loved it.
We had Greg Williams do a message for us. We had this character, Coach Old School, and he said, "You think you're old school?" He's like, "Go work under Buddy Ryan, then you'll know if you're old school." He's like, "Buddy Ryan loved me. You know why? Because I was old school."
I love it.
Was Greg Williams? Was he on that staff?
No, he wasn't on that staff. Our first defensive coordinator that year, 87, was Wade Phillips.
Ooh,
wow.
And then, son of bum.
And then Wade left after I think it was the 88 season. It might have been after the 87 season he left. And Jeff Fisher became the defensive coordinator. Now, Buddy was calling the defense.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, Buddy called the defense.
46 cover 0?
Yeah, it was 46 46 cover 0, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, what's the call?
Well,
Reggie White, go get the quarterback.
He had 2 signals, right? Adjust the front and coverage, which was 0, right? Adjust the front and coverage, which he never called, which was just base, and then it was blitz the formation, and which is what he called all the time. And every week the blitz for each formation changed, but it was 46, and then. Yeah, of course, every blitz had a different name, but the middle linebacker had to call them all. Of course, I remember a bunch of them. Cheeseburger was the one that I always remember the most because it was Mike,
the Mike nose stunt.
Yeah, Mike nose stunt, right? Some people call it crossfire or crossbuck, right? But since it was involved in double A gaps, that's the one I remember the most.
I mean, when you get a bare front like that, I mean, it's a fan call, right? You got the nose, and then the guards got the 3 techniques, and the tackles got the ends, unless there's some type of crossing, and the back's got the middle linebacker, right, if he blitzes.
Right. So that's the way everybody did it, because right when Buddy first introduced it, no one had seen anybody cover up all the interior linemen like that, and it was such a mismatch. And when Buddy got there, and training camp was full speed for us.
So who did you have on you?
It was Reggie White on the nose.
At nose?
Yeah, if you don't remember, go back and watch. He was the nose guard in the 46.
Oh my God!
How do you block that guy by yourself? How big are you?
Clyde Simmons was the open side end, right? And then he just split the two tackles, right? Jerome Brown and Mike Pitts or Mike Golick were on the other side. And then, he manned up the tight end, and Mike linebacker standing back there behind Reggie White. And it was just either get better and survive and be a great football player, right? or just go crawl in bed and cry at night. I mean, that's the only two choices you had.
You gotta fight. You gotta fight.
Coach, you gotta grab cloth, you gotta fight, you gotta bite, you gotta do whatever you gotta do.
And then you were like, I can't wait till we do this again tomorrow.
Well, this afternoon for 2 days. Yeah,
that's right.
What college did you go to? You probably already said.
Yeah,
I played at Tulsa University.
Okay, right on.
Hall of Famer.
Wow. So you're from Oklahoma?
Yes, sir. Do
you have any Native American in your blood?
I don't, which is a little surprising, right? But I don't have any.
So how did your ancestors, your family get there? Were they sharecroppers? I mean, was it part of like the Dust Bowl?
No, actually, my whole family now is from Arkansas. Okay, so we only got to Oklahoma because of my grandfather. My grandfather, they all worked in the Northwest Arkansas Railroad. Okay. Everybody from my dad on up, and my mom's dad.
They built it. They built
the Arkansas
Railroad. That's the
Railroad.
only way it was to get there. I mean, They built the road to San Francisco. Where the gold was.
So we only got here because my granddad on my mother's side got it when he retired from the railroad. He was still working for the government, and they moved him to Tulsa. And then when my parents got married in Arkansas, he got my dad a job at Norman Rockwell in the county department. So we moved to Tulsa. So that's how we got here.
Wow. So your dad was an accountant. Your mom was stay-at-home mom?
My mom was stay-at-home mom.
How many brothers and sisters you have?
I've got a younger brother and a younger sister.
What did they end up doing?
Well, my brother is a Tulsa cop.
Okay.
And my sister is a Mary Kay dominator. She drives the pink Cadillac.
Wow. Awesome. Man, Avon, Mary Kay.
That's right. All of it,
man. That was the original, dude. My mom was an Avon lady just because she could get the free samples, I think. And her only people she sold to was herself and my grandma.
Right. That's right.
I mean, everybody talks about all these like pyramid schemes and everything today. But right. I mean, Avon and Mary Kay, dude, that was like the American dream. Start your own business. American
dream, right?
Yeah, start your own business.
Yeah.
Man, dude. Like, I don't even know if we ever talked about LLCs or anything. Oh, you want to make money? Okay, sell Avon. So, what was it for guys? Did guys have anything like that?
It was the protein product.
Like
right? It was the what?
Like Joe Weider, Weider protein.
Yeah.
Okay.
You remember those? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Be an encyclopedia salesman.
That's right.
Like vacuum cleaner salesman.
Yeah. Right. I mean, Kirby vacuums, right? Walk the street, knock on doors, and sell Kirby vacuums.
Yeah, man. So, who was the OC when you played for the Eagles?
Well, we went through several. We had 10.
Yeah.
We had. Because it was hard to be the OC for a Buddy.
Yeah. Is it true, Kevin Gilbride, that Coach Buddy Ryan was actually trying to kill a mosquito? He was actually trying to kill a mosquito when he hit him. Okay, so that's not true.
That's not true.
I had a guy once tell me that. He was actually trying to punch him to inflict pain.
He was actually trying to inflict harm on the offensive coordinator that spent when they had the lead before half with about 30 seconds left, and the coordinator threw it three incompletions, and the defense had to go back out of the field.
Yeah, man. He threw the ball too much. Just like Woody Hayes, man. Woody Hayes wasn't mad the guy intercepted. He was mad they even called a pass.
That's right.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he was mad. So Buddy Ryan, I don't know if you talked much about him, but like, what is his background? Because I mean, I only know him like from the Bears. So what is so great about him?
Yeah. Well, so Buddy Ryan was military. Background's military. He was a drill sergeant in the Army.
Okay.
And
I mean, he was he was probably pre-Vietnam or Vietnam.
He would have been pre-Vietnam. He would have been in the 50s, late 50s. And
when they could basically kill you almost.
Right. Yeah, with his bare hands, right? Tied to the tree.
They could choke you, they could drown you.
Right. And he just loved football. He had played at Oklahoma A&M, which is now Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And just like everybody, he came from a poor family, and so didn't have any money. So he got out of college, didn't have a job. So let's go join the military. And then of course, then you come out of the military, you've got some discipline, you've got some money in your pocket, and started a family. And he got into coaching. He worked for Weave Bank, right?
And then the Jets. Yeah.
And that's how he just went and volunteered to start it off. Right.
Wow.
And then worked his way up to being the defensive coordinator for Weave Bank.
Wow.
And then, of course, once you're in the NFL's in the coaching fraternity, I mean, you're in. And, of course, he built up a reputation. And I don't know how it happened, but he became friends, like lifelong friends with the owners of the Bears, the McCaskies. Right. So he was there before they hired Ditka. And when Ditka got the job, they told him he could hire anybody on the staff, but Buddy was staying as a defensive coordinator. So from day one's where the animosity, Buddy was untouchable to Ditka.
He was a hustler. He was a hustler. He knew who could fire him and who couldn't.
Right.
And he went in there and he was a people person. I mean, everybody that played for him loved him. So he went in there and made sure those owners liked him.
That's right. The players, everybody I talked to with the Bears, and then everybody at Philadelphia just absolutely loved the guy. And you could tell by how hard the team played. We played incredibly hard. We probably underachieved a couple of years, and there was a couple of years we were very unlucky with injuries. Just to one side of the football. But
we had was the quarterback.
That 91.
Yeah, 91. Right. Randall Cunningham got hurt in the first quarter of the game, game of the season.
ACL.
Right, against the Green Bay Packers. And then Jim McMahon come in, and if Jim could have stayed healthy, we would have been fine. But we went through like 4 quarterbacks that year. We had Jack Kemp and Ken O'Brien. We even played. We went to Tampa and won a game, or got beat the game like 12-6. Bunch of field goals in a driving rainstorm. We had a rookie play. Golly, I didn't even remember his first name. His last name was like Goebel or Gable.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Brett and we went down and played.
Roman Gabriel, no.
We went down and played
There was a Troy Taylor, I think, too. He's played for the Jets. We were with the Eagles. Was Randall Cunningham your quarterback?
Yeah, Randall Cunningham was my quarterback almost every year. We had
my gosh, wow! I was a Redskin fan. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and that's the only team that we could watch. But dude, I know you played with them, but from watching as a kid, him dropping back, and they didn't have called quarterback runs because you didn't need it.
No.
But when that dude took off, everybody in the whole stands. I mean, what a game changer.
He's the most incredible athlete you could ever imagine, right? He was an All-American at UNLV as a punter. He could come out of the locker room just dead cold and kick a 50-yard field goal.
Where is he from? Is he from Las Vegas? Is he from out in Nevada?
He's from California.
Okay.
Right. Now he has a brother much older. You guys remember Sam Bam Cunningham?
I do remember that
Cunningham played running back for the New England Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
But his older brother, but Sam's like 12 years older than Randall.
Wow.
And then Randall could come. He could do absolutely anything athletically you could ever dream of.
Game changer, man. Game changer.
He was Mike Vick before Mike Vick. And Coach, what did Buddy Ryan call him? I like this.
But, well, all right. So, before we get to it, all right. So, Buddy Ryan, if he liked you, or if you were not liked you, but if
he loved you or hated you, he loved you or hated you.
Right. If you were in good standing, he had a nickname for you, right? If you were in the doghouse, he just called you by your jersey number.
Right. I mean, what's the use of learning the guys' numbers? I mean, or names.
So since we were on offense, right? Most of us got called by our number.
Yeah, you're the enemy.
Yeah. Now he called me Broken Stick from day one, but he called Randall most of the time 12.
Yeah.
Wow. Just called him 12. But he called Reggie White the Reverend, right? He called.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, he called after Randall would have a good game, right? He was the preacher, right? Or he was the gunslinger, but most of the time he was 12.
Wow. So, I mean, I had these coaches that come on, and this one guy said, Troy, this team that I have, you know, the kids tell me that I can't relate to them, and I can't understand them, and I look different than them. I mean, Buddy Ryan didn't look like a lot of those players, but he could relate. And I mean, so what was it about it? I mean, he was so loved, but was it his charisma? I mean, it was his swag.
No, it was not swag. It was his openness.
Bravado?
His openness and his bravado. Yeah, I mean, that's where the team came, you know. Every team emulates their head coach. And so the bravado was what the team emulated. But he related so well because he was a real person. You know, he would sit down and talk to you about his life. And he would ask you about stuff other than football. How's your wife? How's your kid? You know, hey, your wife's pregnant, you know. And he would go in the locker room. And listen, he had a big, gruff attitude and a big, gruff, you know, exterior. But that was a lot for the media.
Yeah.
You know, around us, it was arm around the shoulder, talking about football, talking about life, talking about your kids. And that's where players just go play hard for somebody when they know that coach really cares for them. You know?
Yeah, he was a high school coach first in 1957 at Gainesville High School in Gainesville, Texas. And then he went to University of Buffalo, Pacific, Vanderbilt, the Jets, the Vikings, the Bears, D coordinator, then the Eagles, Oilers, defensive coordinator, and then the Cardinals. Yeah, so he was originally a high school coach, which I think I just interviewed the receiver coach from the Chargers. He's a former high school coach in Virginia. And he said that the receivers out there, he's got two $20 million receivers, you know, Austin and Williams. And they're like, Coach, you know, we never had a coach that talked to us about life. I mean, because I guess these high school coaches can relate to the players more than these guys who were born into it, you know, because their daddy was an NFL coach. You know, like Buddy Ryan, he had to work his way. He wasn't just born into it.
Right. Yeah. You know, guys that have to go prove themselves. You know, if you want to go – talking about football, high school football, you guys know what the reputation is, and it's well earned for high school football coaches in Texas. It's amazing football. I've got some of my best friends are down there coaching football in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And you better go down there and win football games. If you're going to win football games in Texas as a high school football coach, you better know what the heck you're doing at all times. And, you know, Buddy was unbelievable at making adjustments in football games. His game plans defensively were nothing like I've ever seen anywhere before. They were every week it was different. He didn't run just, you know, a scheme. He ran a defense designed to stop what you did best, and he was amazing at it. Yeah,
he matched his chess pieces to your chess pieces. He was going to make sure his best guy was on your best guy. And
that's right.
So who was your O-line coach?
I had two O-line coaches in my 10 years, right? Had a guy named Bill Walsh, okay, not this 49ers Bill Walsh. His name was Bill Walsh. He was ready to retire when I got to Philadelphia. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 50s.
Wow.
And then Buddy hired a guy named Bill Muir.
Right? Yeah, I know him. He was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers forever, Pittsburgh Steelers. So Bill was a younger offensive line coach, and so he coached with my last 5 or 6 years at Philly, and then he actually went to New York and brought me to New York for my last couple of years up at the Jets.
Wow, man, that's cool.
Yeah, he was a great coach.
I mean, this Bill Murr, he's born in 42. He coached at Delaware Valley College, Rhode Island, Idaho State, Houston Steamers, Southern Methodist, from SMU in 77. I guess that was when they were paying the players, right?
Yes,
that got him to Tampa Bay.
Yes, he was. He had some great stories about that too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like what they're doing now. Back then, they got the death sentence.
That's right.
Today, it's rewarded.
That's right.
It's crazy, man. Maurice Claret. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Well, he would tell a story. His favorite story was, he said, Coach, we didn't have to recruit players. All right. So what we would do is a kid would come in on visit. I'd go pick him up at the airport, and I would take him to a restaurant in town, and I'd tell him to get out and go over there and get in that Mercedes over there. And I'm going to be sitting here. And he said the guy would be in the Mercedes and they'd drive off. He said sometimes it was 30 minutes. Sometimes it was 3 hours. Right? Pretty soon that Mercedes would pull back up. The kid would get back in the car and I'd take him to the airport. And then he signed me with SMU.
Eric Dickerson, he never got out of the Mercedes. He just drove away.
He just drove. The guy just handed him the keys.
Whatever he wants, man.
Yeah, the guy just handed him the keys. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So y'all's tailbacks. I mean, it was like, who was there? Like Ricky? Were you with Ricky Waters?
Ricky Waters was my last year. So we had Keith Byers,
who
was an absolute man.
I mean, what position is he? I mean, he's like a Jerome Bettis, huge guy.
Monstrous, big man.
What college did he play for?
Ohio State.
Oh, he's a Buckeye. Yep. Coach, do you remember the game? I swear it was against the Giants, and I thought it was Harry Carson, but it was a play where Keith had a crackback block, and I mean, completely flipped the guy in the air. I'll never forget that. He basically, it was almost like a helicopter hit.
All right. So it was not Harry. It was Pepper Johnson.
Yep, number 52.
He peeled back. Keith Byers peeled back and hit Pepper Johnson and knocked him into Tuesday.
That was unbelievable. Now, I still remember that one.
All right. So you want to hear the cool part about that? Keith Byers and Pepper Johnson were roommates at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
Damn, that is.
Yeah, dude, but I was listening to these young guys on Twitter. There's like 20-year-olds. I can't get down with this soft stuff. Dude, like everything is soft now. Like I had a coach who ate glass. Like I had a guy who would take his shirt off in the winter. I mean, we jumped in people's ear holes. I mean, Coach, it's all soft now, ain't it?
Hey, we were talking right before you got on. Practice under Buddy Ryan.
It was a fist fight.
I would be fired before practice was over if we had one practice like that. Yes. First off, there was a fight every day. I mean,
the coaches were fighting.
And I'm not talking about, just pushing and shoving and calling each other dirty names. I'm talking about swinging and trying to knock some. Because our practices were full speed. It was tackle the running back to the ground.
Yeah.
It was
don't even get, man.
And so
they didn't even bring whistles.
They take the whistle, they put it down their shirt.
Down your shirt. Exactly.
Yeah. Unless it's like somebody special. Then like Randall, you don't touch him. They blow the whistle when you get 5 yards from him, man.
Yeah, you couldn't touch Randall, but everybody else was fair game. Keith Byers was getting tackled to the ground.
Yeah, even if you wanted to touch him. The big tall receiver. What was his name?
Carmichael? I think that was before him.
Oh, my.
Yeah, he was gone before I got there. Come on,
he was okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he was 87 through 94. Coach Taylor. Yep.
Yeah.
But tell us about that too. That's right in the middle of the strike season, pretty much. That had to be a big haggle.
Yeah, so we already talked about a little bit about the culture shock, me going up there in Philadelphia, right? First time been east of the Mississippi. So my rookie year, 87, was the strike. And so everybody knew once we made the team, everybody knew the strike was coming. We were going to play a few games, and then we're going to go on strike. And
why were they going to play a few games just to get like a little bit of cash?
No, we played a few games so we could all get vested that year, toward our retirement. You had to play 3 games to get vested toward your retirement. So we played some games to get everybody get a accredited season, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't matter to a rookie, but those older guys like Kenny Clark, those older guys get an accredited season. So you talk about culture shock. So the Philadelphia Eagles have their first strike game is a home game. And so we're going to pick it. Well, that is a union town. And so every union in the city shows up. The steel workers, the pipe fitters, the shipyard guys, and they circle Veteran Stadium with semi-trucks and park them bumper to tail. And they did not let fans in. There was only like 4,000 people get into the vet that day.
30,000 outside.
Yeah, and I'm walking around. I'm a 21-year-old kid with my eyes. I'm like, oh my god.
Were you? Was it before you or after you when they booed Santa Claus?
That was before me.
That was way before you.
Yeah. Now we had we had the snowball incident where they tried to kill Jimmy Johnson with the snowballs. But
wow, man,
Coach. There was another thing I was just thinking.
I'm gonna ask him about Dick Vermeil was before Buddy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the invincible years. That's 10 years before.
Marion Campbell.
Oh, so there was coaches between Vermeil and Buddy Ryan, right?
Yeah, a guy named Marion Campbell, yeah.
Because I was just wondering, like, going from Dick Vermeil to Buddy Ryan, like, I know they hire opposites. Like you have like Pete Carroll, then it's Bill Parcells. It's like it's always the opposite.
It's always the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have more
that didn't work.
Right, or you need an offensive coach or a defensive coach. Yeah.
Yeah. The only people that don't do it is the Steelers. I mean,
yeah.
How about that organization, right? Amazing.
Yeah. 3 coaches, man. 3 coaches in what? 50 years?
50 years. Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around, isn't it?
But I mean, y'all's organization's amazing too. Y'all fire coaches like I changed my underwear, and y'all are in the Super Bowl every other year. I mean, Doug Peterson's got a statue. Fired. Chip Kelly fired. Andy Reid fired.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. NFL, not for long. We tell our players, right?
Right. Not for long. Yeah. You got to go out, and you're only as good as that last piece of film you put out there. Right. And if that film's not good enough, you're gone. We'll find somebody else.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling, Coach, because as hard as you guys went, as long as you guys went, the practices, the 2-a-days, you went, I believe, 114 games straight as a starter.
Yeah.
That is something else. And I know what I was thinking of. I was wanting to ask you what you did on draft day and what your draft day was like. These guys have these draft day parties and they go, places. What was your draft day story?
Well, it wasn't anything like what they have now. I mean, the first couple of rounds were on ESPN back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got drafted right when they said I was going to get drafted. So me and another guy at University of Tulsa that was hoping to get drafted that day, we went and played golf that morning. I got home. I walked in my house. But it wasn't anything on TV by the time I got to the 5th round, and I'm there with my mom, my dad, and my fiance. Phone rings. My mom answers it, hands it to me, and everybody's standing around. What's going on? What's going on? I said, it's the Eagles. I kind of whisper, it's the Eagles. And my fiance starts jumping up and down. The Eagles, the Eagles, the Eagles. She's like, and she starts yelling. Then she starts going, where are the Eagles? Where are the Eagles? So I put the phone down. I said, Philadelphia. She starts jumping up and down again. Philadelphia, Philadelphia. She's like, where's Philadelphia? I mean, she was just like me. She hadn't been anywhere either. We had never been neither of us had ever been on a plane.
Yeah.
So that was my draft day experience. You talk about the consecutive start streak. That's the thing I'm most proud of. Always been there for my teammates. I would have played. I had including playoffs, it was somewhere around 120 or 121. But, the owner for the Philadelphia Eagles when I was there sold the team when I had 1 year left. So the guy that's there now, Lurie, bought the team.
Right.
And I would have, if the other guy would have been there, right, I would have probably got to stay with Philadelphia. But, typical deal. New owner comes in, fires the head coach. So what does the new head coach do, right? He cuts the 3 oldest guys on the team, right? So Herschel Walker, Calvin Barnett, and myself, we all get released. Team captains all got cut. That's a typical deal. It's just the way it works.
Did Chris Carter, was he with the Eagles when you were?
Yeah, well, technically, we were not in the same draft class, even though we came in the same year. He was in the supplemental draft. But, yeah,
Did he get into some trouble, and then he went into the late draft?
Yeah, he got in trouble at Ohio State and went in the late draft.
And you were drafted, correct, the same year that Jerome was. You and Jerome were the same class, and he was
Jerome,
out of Miami.
Jerome Brown and I were in the same class, right? And then the next year in '88, it was Keith Jackson and Eric Allen, first and second round.
Wow.
Who was making these picks? Who was making these picks? Because, they're hitting on almost.
Yeah, Buddy. Everybody wants to talk about Buddy Ryan being a great coach. He doesn't get near the affection. I don't even know what the right word is.
Accolades.
Yeah, he doesn't get no respect when it comes to picking players. Like he's picking tough guys.
Great talent evaluator. He brought in his own guy as his player personnel guy. A guy named Joe Woolley was his name, but it was Buddy evaluating and making the picks, and he hit and hit and hit.
They drafted Randall Cunningham, right?
No, Randall got there. Randall was there, a rookie in '85. And he was a second or third round pick. And Buddy came in '86, right? After the Super Bowl, after the '85 Super Bowl.
Yeah. And Reggie, he was USFL.
Yes.
And then came over to you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the differences between Jerome Brown and Reggie White?
Man,
as people, not as players, but as people.
Oh, they were almost polar opposites as people.
Wow.
Away from the football field. Now, I tell everybody this because he didn't have a very long career. Jerome Brown may be the best teammate of any teammate I ever had.
Why?
He's talking about a guy that would have your back. When you needed somebody to have your back, he had your back. But he was also a guy, because when they were in their base front, he played shaded nose, right?
Yeah.
So Jerome and I mean, from day one of training camp until his car wreck, we had 40 snaps against each other a day. But in practice, he was not going to take it easy, right? Because his number one thing was the Philadelphia Eagles have got to win football games. And Dave, I got to get better. And this is Jerome talking. Dave, I got to get better. And Dave, you got to get better. But we're going to do it, and then we're going to walk off the field. We're going to walk off the field arm in arm with our arm around each other. And he was a great leader in the locker room. Huge personality.
I was looking him up to see what high school he was from down there in Florida, and he's from Hernando, Brooksville, Florida, which is west of Orlando, and I'm not even familiar with that area. Are y'all?
Yeah, he's from nothing.
Yeah, it's out yonder.
There ain't nothing there.
No, He's from nothing. Sugarcane fields. He's from nothing. The muck. They call it down there. They call it the muck.
Yeah, the muck. Yeah.
He's from.
They chase jackrabbits out there, man.
That's right.
I'm trying to see.
My God! He grew up, even though they didn't have much. He had a mom and a dad that were with him, and his dad is one of the biggest human beings you've ever seen. way taller than Jerome. If Jerome would have been as tall as his dad, he would have been. I mean, they would have outlawed him. He wouldn't have been able to play football.
Did he ever talk about how he felt about Jimmy Johnson? Because I hated Jimmy Johnson as a kid because I was a Redskin fan, but that guy is underrated to me as a coach. You know, what he did at Miami, he didn't go to the Cowboys.
Well, he loved him. Jimmy, and, you know, I'm friends with a lot of the Dallas Cowboys. You know, there's some guys that they're from this area that played for Dallas, and they all loved him. I did not like Jimmy Johnson either. I'd been a competitor. He's walking around with that hair all swooshed over. Yeah. You know, acting all perfect. Mm-hmm. You know, got the great tan, you know. Yeah. And Buddy Ryan was nothing about the hair looking good or having the
exact opposite, man.
Jimmy Johnson.
So did Buddy Ryan's sons, were they on the staff?
No, they were the first couple of years when they were in high school, they were ball boys at training camp. And so I got to know them back when they were little kids. And then they ended up going to play in small college football here in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. And then I think they started off in college and kind of just worked their way up, you know.
Yeah, and then they worked for their dad after he was gone Philadelphia. Probably, I think with Arizona, they would, you know, volunteer assistants and you know, learning the defense from Buddy then.
Who was your coach at the Jets?
Rich Kotite.
Wow. And who was the line coach?
Okay, Bill Muir was his name. Bill Muir.
That's right. Yeah, Bill Muir. He brought you.
Right. So, so Rich Kotite was our head coach. We were bad. Man, we were bad. 2 years ago,
I remember.
I
remember. I mean, dude, have the Jets been any good since Joe Namath?
No, they Parcells was there, and they had a couple nice seasons. But, you know, up until recently, and up until the last few years, every game was a road game, you know, because they practiced out on Long Island.
Yeah.
Right. And then they played over in New Jersey, you know, which was, you know, it's an hour and a half drive. You know, now they finally moved their training facility over there close to the Giants training facility. So they've got, you know, they practice there at the Meadowlands or they're, you know, at their own little place there. But so now they've got home games. So it's always been, and they're always going to be second fiddle. You know, they'd be better off raising some money and building another stadium.
Yeah. I mean, or move the team to where they could be the only show in town, man. But I guess, you know.
So, Coach, quick question about that Eagles offensive line. Did you guys ever like hang out outside of the place, or what kind of bonding did you guys do? And did you guys ever, you know, just for fun, you know, throw a couple bucks in the pile and you know, pick a winner if anybody tattooed somebody or anything?
Oh, hey, I learned it early when we got there. Yeah, we had a great time away from the practice facility. You know, you've only got 8 linemen, right? You know, that's the thing that people, even, you know, high school and college coaches can't grasp. No. You know, you've only got 8 offensive linemen. This is back before there was taxi squads and, you know.
Why is that? I mean, like it's because they don't want to pay anybody else.
Well, they've expanded it now, and they've got practice squads with 5 or 7 guys on there, and so.
But a 53-man roster, that is just ridiculous. Like we get a 49ers team that ain't even got a quarterback. Like,
well, we played with a 45-man roster, so you know, wow. We didn't even, you know. In my last couple of years, I had a 47-man roster where they signed a deep snapper. Like, you know, like even though I was starting on the offensive line, I snapped for field goals and extra points.
Yeah.
Right. And then we had our backup tight end snap for punts. You know, now every team has got a designated snapper. Mm-hmm. So we hung out. So Wednesday night after practice, right, because we were always in full pads. Thursday night after practice, we were always in full pads on Wednesday and Thursday. So Thursday after practice, we'd go in and we'd watch film, you know, from about 4:30 to about 5:30, ordering some pizzas, hoagies, cheesesteaks. Yeah. And then we'd leave there, right? And we would go, we called it AA. Oh. Right? We go to AA, but it was attitude adjustment time. Yeah. Right, on Thursday nights.
I mean, when was it that you actually realized, man, I'm living the dream. I'm playing pro football. Like, Was there ever a time when it just hit you like, wow, man?
Well, I can tell you it was just a complete blur my first year. Just everything going on. There was games I played. I can vividly tell you about my first snap and things that happened my rookie year. But the thing that hit me the hardest, right, when I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the NFL. It was my second year. I'm starting at left guard. And it was my second start. We're playing Monday Night Football at home against the New York Giants.
Wow.
All right, so.
Oh my gosh, who did you have in front of you?
Leonard Marshall,
I'm
right?
I'm playing left guard. So the nose, they were straight.
Yeah, it's uncovered. It's uncovered.
Yes, but it had Jim Bird at nose.
Oh,
Bird,
had Leonard Marshall at the defensive end here on my left, right? And you had Lawrence Taylor hanging out there on my left outside. So
did he play on the boundary or the field, or did it matter?
They put him to our defensive right. He was the right outside linebacker. Him and Carl Banks didn't flip. So I'm fine all week. I'm watching film. I'm like, yeah, hey, no big deal. We played this team and that team, and we went out and warm up. We come back in and put our shoulder pads on. You're only in there for a couple of minutes. Take a sip of Gatorade, and we were walking out the tunnel to go out for the game, and over the loudspeakers at the vet is Monday Night Football intro music, and I'm telling you, I about pissed my pants. I'm like, oh man,
ain't no turning around, man.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this is not cool. Now that game, there's a famous clip from that game. You see it all the time where Randall scrambles out to the right. Carl Banks hits him in the thigh pads.
Hand
down, stands up and throws a touchdown pass to Jimmy Giles. That was that game.
Wow.
And it took me a little bit to keep from hyperventilating. And then from then on, just grab cloth, man. Hang on to Leonard Marshall. Harry Carson's the Mike linebacker. He's standing right there in front of me. Leonard Marshall, Lawrence Taylor. It was kind of wild.
Yeah, so when they're running that 3-4 and you're playing offensive guard and you're uncovered, I mean, I don't know what that guy played. Was it a 5 technique or a 4? Do y'all just fan it out, and then y'all had 2 backs in the backfield to pick up the inside backers? I mean, because
no, what we were doing against Lawrence Taylor, and almost everybody did it back then. The right guard was down the nose, the center was backside A gap for that Mike linebacker, and the left guard and left tackle had Leonard Marshall and LT. And
one-on-one.
Yeah, and it was half the pass snaps I had Leonard Marshall, and half of them I had Lawrence Taylor when they would run a stunt. So that's just what you did. If you didn't fan toward Lawrence Taylor, you were going to get quarterback dead. I
mean, I got some people ask me sometimes like, who do you think's the best defensive player of all time? I mean, he's got to be in the equation. I mean,
100%.
How big is he? I mean, he was an animal.
He was an animal, and people, they just see. You just don't realize how big he was either. He was a monster of a man, and everybody sees all the cool sacks and the tackles behind the line of scrimmage and interceptions. But what doesn't show up is the stuff that would amaze us on film. He played so hard for 70 plays. He was, like I said, he was almost always lined up in the same spot. If you ran a quick screen to the other side of the field and he was chasing the quarterback, he would run and chase around the quarterback and sprint down the field and jump on the pile. And then he would get up and be back and be ready to play the next play. He played so hard. And another thing that Lawrence Taylor they don't talk about because it doesn't show good on TV, he didn't talk trash. He was quiet as a mouse until you said something or did something that he thought was disrespectful. And then he finished it, right? He finished every argument. He didn't start them. He finished them, right? You see those times, that clip against him playing the Jets, and he's yelling, he's cussing at somebody because they had cut one of his offensive linemen, and he's taking up for him. He's going to go out there and take care of it. So now, because the guys that talked, right, were the Pepper Johnsons and the Wilbur Marshalls, and Leonard Marshall liked to talk, but Lawrence Taylor hardly ever said anything until right? Until you held him, clipped him, pushed him in the back, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
He broke the code, you know.
He broke the code.
He thought, because in pro football, I never played it, but I watch it. I mean, and then the game's changed. But I mean, even back then, was there a code that you ain't trying to end a guy's career? I mean, even when he hit Joe Theismann, I mean, he's saying,
right.
"Come on, get on the field." Like,
even a guy like Lawrence Taylor, right? Had respect for a grinder like David Alexander, right? Because he knew what it took for David Alexander to play. Yeah. And as long as I didn't jump on the back of his legs or punch him after the whistle, it was complete respect.
Is he the best? I mean, is he the best of your generation?
He did more things in my generation than anybody else.
I mean, he played the hardest position in football, man. He could play a 9 technique. He could drop back. He could rush the passer.
He could set an edge as a 5 and open in 5. Sink Landon Marshall down. And he could play the run. He could play the pass. And he could chase the quarterback. He was a scary, scary human being.
When Buddy is coaching against Bill Parcells, I mean, if he's coaching against Jimmy Johnson, they're opposites. Jimmy's soft. He's a pretty boy. But, I mean, you got mean on mean coaching against I mean, what does Buddy say when he's coaching against Bill Parcells, the tuna?
Well, Buddy loved Bill Parcells, and Bill Parcells loved Buddy Ryan because they're were so guys. Similar.
They're evil. Right? I mean,
they are, and that's the only guy, right? That
they hate offenses. They hate offenses.
They hate offenses, and that's the only guy that you'd ever see Buddy talking to before a game. I mean, he wouldn't talk to anybody. Right, you hear the famous quote, and he never shook anybody's hand after a game.
Yeah, because somebody ran after him.
But Bill Parcells was his guy, and they had a lot in common. And Buddy didn't live long enough to get to the NFL films era like Parcells. Has had all these documentaries now, and all those players getting to talk about what an awesome guy Bill was. And it was the same for Buddy. Bill was a hard-working guy from a blue-collar family, and just love to just go try to knock your quarterback out of the game. I mean, let's go see how many quarterbacks we can make play.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for the Eagles. I mean, the 49ers didn't have a quarterback. I mean, Mahomes, right. I don't know what they shot him up with, but man, it worked. Dude, he couldn't even walk in that what was it, the semifinals?
Yeah, those high ankle sprains, man, that's no joke, right? I mean, it's no joke.
That thing bent the wrong way,
Yeah, Coach, what about the body bag game? Tell us about that one.
I mean, I almost tweeted out this last game when they were playing against the 49ers, and they got down to no quarterbacks in the game. Yeah, the body bag game where they were playing the Redskins. Right, you got a small roster.
Brian Mitchell came in, right?
Yeah, Brian Mitchell came in and finished the game. He had been an option quarterback in college.
I think I remember that. So who did y'all knock out?
All right, so put out Mark Rippon, and I think the backup
Schrader.
I think the backup was Rutledge.
I mean, Joe Gibbs is probably one of the most underrated coaches of all time because 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. But the one thing, like you talk about the strike, like him and Bobby Beathard, they were so far ahead of the curve with the strike because they had a team down here, the Richmond Ravens, that was already running their offense. Did you know that?
I mean, I did not know that.
They took like former college coaches and like Bill McGregor, who had been with the Falcons, and they had them in Richmond with the Scabs already ready to play, running their stuff. And I mean, they won 2 Super Bowls in strike years.
Yeah, that's right. 82 and 87.
I mean, so they were like, dude, Kyle, I mean, what better would you want? Okay, well, we're not going to be able to have our guys. They're going to strike. Okay, let's get some guys. We'll teach those coaches our system, and they'll be practicing like they had that Tennessee quarterback that got out of prison. Like they got him, dude, out of prison and put him on the Richmond Ravens. That was that original semi-pro team.
Man, that's a great story.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I got some coaches that I'm gonna get on here and talk about it because Coach Bill Mountjoy, he was running the 1-back offense in 1983. I mean, 1 back, 2 tights. Donnie Warren motioning, and I mean, Joe Gibbs' offense is still good today.
Shoot, yeah, it is.
I mean, it's everything everything's doing. Gut, outside zone, counter,
That's
boom.
it.
Who was the defensive tackle for Washington back then that you would battle? Was that Dave Butts?
Yeah, so Dave Butts and Grant. Butts and Grant.
Oh,
right?
yeah, Daryl Grant.
Daryl Grant, right? And Dexter Manley and Charles Mann.
That was a good line.
Oh, my gosh.
That was a stacked division.
Jumpy Gathers was defensive end.
Who?
Jumpy Gathers.
No, well, I played against Jumpy. Yeah, he came. He wasn't there at the beginning, but he came into the Redskins in the middle. So it started off as Dexter Manley, Charles Mann at end, right? Daryl Grant and Dave Butts. So my first NFL snap was an extra point. We played the Redskins opening game, 87. We drive right down the field and score. I go running out there to snap an extra point, and Dave Butts is lined up right in front of me. And I look at that mountain of a human being he had to be 40 years old at that time already. Wow. And I'm like, oh, man, just get a good snap here because he's getting ready to knock my head.
There were no rules protecting your head.
No, there was no rules, brother.
Yeah, dude.
That's another question I got for you. You know, they didn't have the technology where you had to take these concussion tests. Like, they didn't really have them back when we were in school. You know?
Right.
What was it? Just you got your bell wrong, or you saw some dots?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, there was no concussion tests, right? Nothing like that.
If you could get up, you were playing.
Yeah, my favorite. I have two stories, right, of me getting a concussion. One of them is we're playing the Bears, and I don't even really remember who hit me. I don't know if it was McMichael or Hampton.
Oh my gosh!
Or
Fridge,
right? But all I remember is coming back to the huddle and Randall calling the play, and I have no idea. The words don't mean anything to me.
It's gibberish.
Yeah, and I know I'm playing football, and so out of habit, he says ready break. I turn around, I run the line of scrimmage, and I'm like, God, what's going on? I'm like, I turn to my left guard, and I said, what's the play? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, what's the play? He said, what do you mean? I said, is it run or pass? He said, it's a run. I said, to the right or the left? He said, to the right. And that went on for about 3 or 4 plays, and then all of a sudden it just kind of came back to me. But, you just, hey, bite down on his leather strap and go play. Let's go.
I love it.
Man,
this I can't believe we've been going for 57 minutes, Coach. Do you believe this?
Holy cow. That's awesome.
This has been so fun. We definitely, if it's possible, we'd love to get you on again.
Yeah, sure,
if
man.
it's possible.
So we're pulling for the Eagles. Okay, I'm pulling for the Eagles because Anthony Harris, who's he's a DB. He went to LC Bird High School where I'm the head coach. Kevon Wallace, the guy that got slammed by Trent Williams. He's from Highland Springs, which is near the airport in Richmond. And so we're pulling for the Eagles, man. We want you guys to win, man.
Well, man, they've got an unbelievable football team. It is so easy and so fun to root for Jalen Hurts, right? He's so easy to like.
What a winner!
He's an unbelievable leader, and of course, being an offensive lineman, man, they've got all Hall of Famers. Kelsey and Lane Johnson,
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Fame, 2 Hall of Famers up there. They are a blast to watch, and then that defense is scary good.
Absolutely, Coach.
Is there a prediction? Do you think it'll be a close game? What are you?
It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be 38-35. It's going to be 42-38, something like that. Eagles defense is going to make a play at the end to win it.
I hope so, man. I'm pulling for y'all, man.
I appreciate that.
That deal that the high school gets a gold football. That's a great tradition, man. Every high school in America.
Yeah. It is awesome. The gold ball, man. It's what you fight for.
Yeah, man. So, Kyle, what did you think about our sponsor, Cultivate Wellness?
Oh, Cultivate Wellness. Health is wealth these days. You got sores, you got aches, go to our website. We got the topicals, we got the creams, we got stuff for your favorite 4-legged friend over here to make her calm down and relax.
Coach. Look at that, Coach. I cried.
Anytime.
I cried when I went to his house.
This is a true story, Coach. He hadn't seen me since I was sleeping on somebody's couch. Okay.
Right.
And he comes here and, he comes in the backyard and he had a long drive. And I was just, I was like, man, what's going on? Are you okay? And his amazing girlfriend looked at me and she was just like, he is so proud of you. And I'll tell you what, I got choked up, Coach. It was amazing. But David Alexander, anytime you're in the west coast of Florida, Tampa, St. Pete, man, let's hook up, buddy.
All right, brother.
Let's hook up. We can have.
You know who your buddy is? His buddy's a pro wrestler, the Cuban Assassin.
Nice.
Yeah, y'all could go have some fun, couldn't y'all, Kyle?
Oh man. Let's do it. Let's do it, Coach. Yeah. You got my number. I'll pass yours on to Coach Taylor, man. We love you. This was an amazing time. I really appreciate you. Fly, Eagle, fly. What about the other sponsor, Coach? Don't we have one more?
Yeah,
the workouts.
We have
for the coaches.
Coach, this is a technology that it basically. You know how you used to work out in stations and rotate? Now these strength coaches, I don't know why they don't want to do it, but they want to stay in one place, like just work off of one rack. So they got this new technology. They sponsored us for the Championship Football Coaches Clinic, where basically, Coach, it's a beep. It tells them when to lift. It tells them when to change weights. It tells them when to change exercises. I mean, it's structured, Coach. I guess there's a lot of coaches that aren't disciplined and structured.
No, I love it.
I mean, what's Buddy Ryan? I mean, he's known as a renegade coach, but his players, they were disciplined because y'all were like pit bulls. Pretty much, the pit bull don't attack his owner.
And very disciplined, right? Our practices started at like weird times, right? In 2 days, it was 9:03, right, and 2:14 or something like that. It was just right, and by gosh, at 2:14, the whistle blew. And it was on.
And that was the thing, too. They were always, 2 hours and 12 minutes or something like that, right?
Exactly the same every day. And you knew what you were going to get when you showed up.
Heck yeah. Coach,
ready to fight.
So amazing. Thank you for representing the OL Brotherhood. This has been phenomenal. We look forward to doing it another time.
All right, man. You guys don't realize how appreciative I am being on. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach.
Everybody, we'll see y'all later. Thank you.
Bye-bye.